What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Tyrone Bowman Live. News, analysis, and commentary about the things that are happening in the nation and around the world as well. And as always, I use a variety of news outlets, sources, and publications to bring the stories right. And so hopefully during these next few moments, we'll be able to cover a lot of ground. And I do want to say this before I get started. I don't take sides either way. Whoever is right, I will applaud them. Whoever is wrong, I will address it. As I said before, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I'm an individual who votes his conscience. So having said that, let's get started on Tyrone Bowman Live. As you know, President Donald Trump has been pushing extremely hard ever since he came back into office about the purchase of Greenland. So let's find out what's happening. Lovely, good fact check. All right, I'm right there on that one. Let's find out what's happening, what's going on here. According to Bloomberg, the headline reads, Trump backs off Greenland tariffs, citing, quote, framework deal. Now, what exactly does that mean? What does it entail? Let's get into this article written by Rihanna Lowinkran and Sarah Solin, or Joe rather. President Donald Trump said he would refrain from imposing tariffs on goods from European nations opposing his effort to take possession of Greenland, citing a framework of a future deal he said was reached regarding the island. The decision, which Trump announced Wednesday on his social media platform, marks a stark reversal for a president who has repeatedly attempted to coerce Europe over Greenland. It came after meeting with North Atlantic Treaty Organization Secretary, or NATO, General Mark Rutte at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Still, Trump did not detail the parameters of the so-called framework, and it was unclear what the government entails, especially since Denmark earlier Wednesday ruled out negotiations over ceding semi-autonomous island to the United States. Quote, we have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region, end quote, Trump posted. This solution, if consummated, would be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations based upon this understanding. I will not be imposing the tariffs that were scheduled to go into effect on February 1st. U.S. stock jumped on the news that tariffs wouldn't be implemented, with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100 rallying in sessions high. Treasuries extended gains and the Bloomberg dollar index rose to a daily high. At the end of the day, this all boils down to money. It's all about money. Whenever I hear politicians talking about so-called peace deals and so-called forging alliances, the one thing that I ask, what is in it for them? And the bottom line, it's always money. Deals would not be made if there wasn't money involved. And there has to be natural resources and other things that are probably involved as well. And too many people don't really get to the point where they think that they should think about what's in it for them. So Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen welcomed the latest developments, saying in a Wednesday interview with local broadcaster DR that the day ends better than it started. Rasmussen, however, added that it's obvious Trump has not given up on his ambition to gain control over Greenland, which is still a red line for the Kingdom of Denmark. Trump told reporters after his post that he would release the specifics of the agreement shortly, which I don't believe. He declined to answer when asked if it grants U.S. ownership of Greenland, saying, it's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. And I think it puts everybody in a real position. He said it would last for an infinite period of time, whatever that means. Let me address this comment down at the end of the comment section. Let me see who wrote this here. The male dude, quote, "Stop making black people look bad on here." Well, if you don't like this channel, then you need to go someplace else. What I'm talking about has nothing to do with black people. And if you don't like my analysis and my commentary, you don't have to come over here. I'm not here to please you. I'm going to report things the way that I choose to report them, and especially if it's from an objective point of view. You don't get to dictate to me. It's bad enough as other medias, the controlled medias with talking heads who do what they're told. Me, I'm an independent journalist, broadcaster, and law student on the fast track to becoming a lawyer. So over here, you don't tell me what to do. And if you don't like being here, then don't come back. Now let's get back to this story. In an interview with CNBC, Trump said he had not spoken directly with officials in Denmark about his concept of a plan for Greenland, but added that he assumed Rutte had briefed leaders there. He also said the U.S. would be involved in Greenland's mineral rights without elaborating. There you have it. It's about natural resources. It's about natural resources, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it's about. You do not want to take over another place if it's barren, lifeless, and doesn't have a purpose. So the U.S. president said there would be additional discussions on the Golden Dome missile defense system, which he cited in justifying his pursuit of Greenland. VP J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and various others will be responsible for negotiations, Trump added. All right, that's enough from Bloomberg. Here's a story as reported by Reuters News Agency. For quite some time, the administration has been trying to fire Lisa Cook. And who is Lisa Cook? Well, let's talk about her right now. So the U.S. Supreme Court appears reluctant to let Trump fire Fed's Lisa Cook. This is Lisa Cook right here. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. That's who they've been trying to fire for quite some time. Let that sink in for a moment. Now the Supreme Court, for whatever reason, I don't know, it's trying to reverse course, trying to make good. All right, hey, what's up, Compop? So here's a summary. Trump sought to fire Fed Governor Cook in August. Lower courts blocked Cook's removal. Central bank independence is at stake in the case. According to Reuters, U.S. Supreme Court justices signaled skepticism on today toward President Donald Trump's unprecedented bid to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook in a case with the central bank's independence at stake. During about 2 hour arguments, the justices indicated they are unlikely to grant the Trump administration's request to lift a judge's order barring the Republican president from immediately firing Cook while her legal challenge continues to play out. Since the Fed was created in 1913, do you know why the Fed was created in 1913? Most people don't understand the significance. Taxes in the United States of America did not start until around 1913. Up until that time, major corporations, especially conglomerates and what they considered to be Mongols and captains of industry, they didn't pay income taxes. So in 1913, that's when the government started collecting taxes from corporations. So no president has tried to oust an official from the central bank. Questions posed by the justices, conservatives, and liberals alike reflected this first ever nature of Trump's action. They debated issues with little legal precedent to guide them, including what constitutes adequate cause under federal law to remove a Fed official or what procedures are needed to ensure fairness for Cook. So you just can't fire her without just cause of provocation. Just because someone has the majority and says, well, you know what, I want to fire them. Well, what is the purpose? What has she done? Has she violated the Constitution? Has she violated the law? Has she done things that are unethical? The answer is no. The justices expressed unease about the ramifications for the Fed's cherished independence from political influence if they endorsed the Trump administration's argument that the president acted within his powers in seeking to remove Cook. Some pressured U.S. Solicitor General D. John Sawyer, arguing for the administration about why Cook was not given a chance to formally respond to the unproven mortgage fraud allegations, which she has denied. It's always something flimsy. In New York City, they're trying to indict the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, now under some flimsy excuse about involving her hairdresser. She has denied, Lisa Cook has denied anything involving mortgage fraud allegations Trump cited as justification to oust her and the impact on the economy of a first ever Fed firing. Your position that there's no judicial review, no process required, no remedy available, very low bar for cause that the president alone determines. I mean, that would weaken, if not shatter, the independence of the Federal Reserve, conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh told Sawyer. Basically, the administration wants to control the Federal Reserve. That's the point. You get rid of someone who thinks independently, put someone that you want to do things in your favor as the Fed chair, and then bam, the administration's position will create a system that gives a president incentives to come up with trivial or inconsequential or old allegations that are very difficult to disprove, Kavanaugh added. U.S. District Judge Julia Cobb in September ruled that Trump's attempt to remove Cook without notice or a hearing likely violated her right to due process under the U.S. Constitution's Fifth Amendment. Cobb also found that the mortgage fraud allegations likely were not a sufficient cause to remove a federal governor under the law, noting that the alleged conduct occurred before Cook held the Fed post. An appeals court declined Trump's request to put Cobb's order on hold. When the Supreme Court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, agreed in October to hear the case, it left Cook in her job for the time being. This marks the latest case to reach the top U.S. judicial body involving Trump's expansive view of presidential powers since returning to office 12 months ago. Well, the problem with autonomous power is that those who have power without any form of checks and balances will ultimately abuse that power somewhere along the line. According to Associated Press or APNnews.com, immigration enforcement, ICE, arrives in Maine as a court freezes restrictions on tactics in Minnesota. So according to the article by Jack Brook and Patrick Whittle, did I tell you who wrote the last article that I just read? Let me be sure I gave credit to those. My bad. I forgot to give credit for the Reuters article to Andrew Chung and John Crozel and David Lauder. There you have it. Everybody must get credit for any of their articles that I use. Coming out of Minneapolis, according to the AP, Maine became the largest or the latest target of the Trump administration's immigration enforcement crackdown, while a federal court today suspended a decision that prohibited federal officers from using tear gas or pepper spray against peaceful protesters in Minnesota. The 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals was persuaded to freeze a judge's ruling that bars retaliation against the public in Minnesota, including detaining people who follow agents in cars while the government pursues an appeal. Operation Metro Surge, an immigration enforcement operation in the Twin Cities, has been underway for weeks. In a couple of days, I may do it tomorrow if I have time. I'm not going to give the title of the program because if I do, somebody will try to steal it and run with it. But I am going to bring a very special program and I'm going to be talking about something. And I'm going to hit it out of the ballpark. Because it's time for people to realize what they have. So I'm going to hit it out of the ballpark. I like to come up with original commentary on my program. I don't mind using articles and things from other sources, but because I'm a writer and a commentator, I know how to talk, and I know how to think, and I know how to speak extemporaneously, because I like to connect with people. Somebody says, I love ICE. It's one of the few government agencies that I support. Okay, it's all good. I have no problem with that. If you love it, I like it. That's how that goes. So let's get back to this article here. Attorney General Bondi praised the appeals court on X, saying the Justice Department will protect federal law enforcement agents from criminals in the streets and activist judges in the courtroom. See, that's the problem. When you are a judge who doesn't agree with them, now you are a criminal. If you decide to use and exercise your constitutional rights, now you're a criminal. That's right out of the playbook from Mein Kampf. That's how Hitler ruled in Nazi Germany. There are great similarities and comparisons here, ladies and gentlemen, whether you want to believe it or not. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Hitler would have never been able to come to power if good people had stood up and stopped it before it even happened. America had a chance to go in a different direction, but America chose to go in this direction. So the outcry and so many things that's happening in this country and in this nation, it's because of people who voted their emotions and people who decided that they hated a black woman. Let's just put it out there in the ether, tell it the way it is. They hated a black woman. They hated Kamala Harris. They hated Barack Obama and decided we're not going to vote for her. And I could put it in other language, but you wouldn't like it. So I'm going to leave it like that. So after the stay was issued, Greg Bovino of U.S. Border Patrol, who has commanded the administration's big city immigration campaign, was seen on a video repeatedly warning protesters on a snowy Minneapolis street, gas is coming. Now listen to this. Gas is coming, before tossing a canister into the crowd that released green smoke. Let me tell you what's going to end up happening. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people are going to be killed, and they're going to be murdered. Let me say that again. Thousands upon thousands of people are going to be killed. They're going to be murdered. And there is going to come such an outcry like you've never seen before for justice in this nation. And they're not going to be able to justify murdering hundreds of people and thousands of people at a time. And if you think that this is a game, if you think that this is a joke, listen to me, MAGA. Trump is going to turn his army on y'all after a while. Because a lot of you all, you're becoming consciously aware of what's going on. All right, you don't have to believe me. It won't be all fun and games when ICE comes to your city and your town and starts disturbing your friends, your families, your relatives, your associates. As long as you think they're going to murder and kill black and brown people, everything is all right. People like to think that black people don't have any constitutional rights in this country and in this nation, but they are surely wrong. So Minnesota is a major focus of immigration sweeps by agencies under the Department of Homeland Security, and is where Renee Good was fatally shot by ICE officer on January 7th. Well, they don't care about that. What did they do? They made this officer a hero and they made him a millionaire, and he's someplace in a secluded area hiding. So it's okay to murder people. You know, Hitler's people murdered people in the name of Nazism. Have you all forgotten about the Nuremberg trials that occurred? There was a powerful movie made about it that starred Burt Lancaster. I think the late Spencer Tracy was in the movie as well. What has happened before is happening now. What has happened before is happening right now. So since you all think that people should obey laws, whether they're good or just, let's find how much you will obey the law when your innocent loved one is shot down in the street unceremoniously. See if you like it. See if you like it if they kill your mother or your father. And then they'll say something like, well, if they have just obeyed the law, then this would have never happened. Slavery was a law, but it was an unjust law. Everything that Hitler did, he did it within the legality of the law, but it was illegal and it was unjust. Because I don't see anybody from the Asian community being attacked, from the Chinese community being attacked, from the Japanese community being attacked. Not in Philadelphia where I live. I don't see anybody going down there in Chinatown doing any damage, tearing up stores, dragging people out of their houses. Selectivity. So this is a powerful article. State and local officials, according to the article, who opposed the campaign were served with federal grand jury subpoenas Tuesday for records that might suggest they were trying to stifle enforcement. Okay, midterm elections are coming. A political action committee founded by former VP Harris urged donors to contribute to a defense fund in aid of Governor Tim Walz. Why not? Republicans got campaign funds all over the place, slush funds, money hidden and buried everywhere. I'll leave it right here. Quote, the Justice Department is going after Trump's enemies, Harris' email said, referring to President Donald Trump. All right, let's find out some more articles here. In the pursuit of justice, a lot of people don't understand that in the pursuit of justice, there are going to be casualties of war. The civil rights movement here in the United States is nothing short of, it was really a civil war within America. Eyes on the prize. Check out the documentary. All right, this is from the Weather Channel. Pay attention to it. A massive winter storm is to target over 180 million from Texas to New England with potentially damaging ice and heavy snow. Widespread snow and potentially damaging ice storm were on the table from the south into the northeast. A major widespread winter storm will hammer parts of the South, Midwest, and Northwest Friday through Monday, with potentially damaging ice and heavy snow for millions from New Mexico and Texas to parts of New England. The storm has been named Winter Storm Fern by the Weather Channel. According to the weather company forecasters, Fern could affect over 180 million in the U.S., with snow and or ice over half the nation's estimated population. So winter storm watches have been issued from New Mexico into the southeast. Impacts are expected to be most severe in areas where winter storm warnings and ice storm warnings will eventually be issued. Pay attention to the timing of the alerts. You can go to the Weather Channel app for more information. So, Lubbock, Dodge City, snow, sleet, and freezing rain will increase by late morning or early afternoon in the plains, including parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and northern and western Texas to parts of Arkansas. And going into Friday night, this wintry mess of snow, sleet, and ice will be coming to sag southland in the southern plains and lower Mississippi Valley, and also spread east into parts of Tennessee and northern Alabama. Albuquerque, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Dallas, Austin, Kansas City, Little Rock, Shreveport, Memphis, Nashville. Snow, sleet, and ice could sink even a bit further south in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, while it picks up in Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Virginia, and parts of the Carolinas. So Albuquerque, Lubbock, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Little Rock, Shreveport, Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, Asheville, Charlotte, Raleigh, Roanoke, Richmond. On Saturday night, this wintry mess may sag even further south toward parts of southwest Texas, southwestern Louisiana, central Mississippi, northeast Georgia, and South Carolina. Snow may spread into the mid-Atlantic states and intensify while continuing further west into the mid-Mississippi Valley, Ozarks, and parts of Oklahoma and Texas. The latest models have also pushed the northern ends of the snowfall to parts of the Great Lakes. So pay attention down in Houston, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Jackson, Memphis, Knoxville, Nashville, Charlotte, Greenville, Spartanburg, Richmond, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, where I live, New York City, Chicago, and Indianapolis. So if in fact this is true, it's better to be safe than sorry. So wintry precipitation will end in Texas, Oklahoma, and the lower Mississippi Valley by midday. So if this snowstorm is going to come as it's scheduled to, I think it's supposed to start sometime on Saturday. Now let me find out what else I have here to talk about. Oh, wow. Now I got a break coming up at the top of the hour. I don't want to start this story and then have to take a break. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go freestyle for a minute. All right? Because in about 5 minutes, I'm going to have to go take a quick break. A legal break, that is. But when I come back from the break, I'm going to talk about the former Des Moines Island School Superintendent. He pled guilty to federal charges. This is the man that lied, cheated, and faked his way into the educational system. I don't care if he is a black man, he still did it. And I'm going to talk about that story in a few moments. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and now he's going to have to pay. Just like by me becoming a lawyer, I have to earn my degrees. I can't buy them. You'd be surprised how much time I spend reading and writing and studying, taking tests. I have to earn my Bachelor of Science degree in criminology. I have to earn my JD, my Juris Doctorate degree. I have to actually pass the LSTAT. No one's going to give me these degrees. They have to be earned. So when I put it behind my name, it's going to be real. It's not going to be fake. It's not going to be pretentious. Because I'm on a mission. And what is it for? To become a criminal justice advocate. Now, I'm serious about that. Helping true victims of crime, those who are true victims and people have done all types of stuff to them, they deserve to be represented and their families very fairly. And dealing with the criminals, those who commit the crimes and thinking that they've got away with it, and advocating and fighting for those who have been wrongly and falsely accused and languishing in prison right now. I just read a story today before coming into my little office here about a man after 70 years. They finally exonerate him for a crime that he never committed. And you know what the sad thing about part of this? They don't give a damn that they falsely accuse him. Let me tell some of you self-righteous people out there, you legalists something. Let your self-righteous behind be falsely convicted of a crime by the same system that you uphold. I'm talking to you white ones now, to my white brothers and sisters. Let you get falsely accused of a crime that you know that you didn't commit, and they treat you like any other black person in the criminal justice system. And those same white prosecutors lie on you, the same white corrupt cops lie on you, the same white corrupt judges lock you up and throw you into jail, to prison for 10, 20, 30, and 40, 50 years. And you know in your heart that you didn't commit the crime. But because they say you did it, it must be real. Stop believing based upon what they say. Do you know police are taught how to lie and how to pass lie detector tests? It's called justifiable lying. They are taught how to beat any polygraph test. They are taught how to beat any scientific analysis against them. And anything goes in the pursuit of justice. Now, there are great men and women who work every day within law enforcement. There are great judges who rule judiciously the right way in courts of law, from the state courts to the federal courts, etc. But they don't get any credit for the good that they do. Decent men and women, judges are being shot down in the street. Husband and wife judge was recently murdered, shot down like they were a common criminal for doing what's right. Then you got corrupt judges who take bribes, who run sex sting operations, who unjustly send people to prison so they can line their pockets. One such corrupt judge got a full pardon for the corruption and misery that he caused upon people's children. And he knew he was wrong. But because he was politically connected, he got a full pardon. And when you have a conscience in this world and you are going to do what's right, you're not going to be liked, you're not going to be popular, you're not going to be invited to things, but I don't care about that. People say they agree with the premise of right from wrong, but they're more quick to do wrong right. If you or I would steal a penny, they want to lock us up for life, but politicians can steal millions of dollars as long as they belong to the right party. And there will be no impunity for their actions whatsoever. But if you're on the opposition side and you do the same dastardly deeds, then they want to lock you up forever. So make sure you got your business straight. Make sure your tax returns are filed on time. And report things just the way they are. I told you all a few days ago, I fired an accountant because they wanted to do some shady stuff with my taxes. I said, you're not doing a damn thing with my taxes. You're not going to create anything that shouldn't be on there. You're not going to find some children that don't belong to me. I don't want none of that stuff. We're not doing that. Whatever I get back is what I get back. But what's on those tax returns better be true. And don't let nobody lure you into that, especially with this tax season coming up. Don't claim children that are not yours. Listen up, people. Stop claiming children that don't belong to you all, and you go into some type of covenant and agreement with somebody. Oh yeah, let me claim your 2 children, and then that way I can get more money under the tax credit provision. And then when it comes back, we split the stuff. And then the person, when they get the money, they don't want to give it to you anyway. I said they don't want to give it to you anyway. And then when you get caught, then you want to say, oh, it's a persecution against the black man. No, You and yourself put yourself and your family's lives in jeopardy by doing the wrong thing. This is how I talk to my friends and stuff when I'm not on camera. I talk just like I'm talking to you here on camera. This is how I engage in conversation and talk to them. And I tell them, stop doing stupid stuff. No, I gotta be honest now. I'm lying. I be cussing them out. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. Now I gotta tell the truth on myself. Gotta correct myself. I ain't gonna do it here right now, but I'll let them have it. All right, I'll be right back right after this. All right, thank you, everybody. Tyrone Bowman live, dealing with news headlines, analysis, and commentary. Had to take a quick break. Let me just say this before I read this next story. I was talking about how, when I'm talking to a lot of my friends and associates, when I'm not on, in front of this camera, I talk to them the same way I talk to you all. But I'm more animated, and sometimes I just got to cuss them all the way out because they think they know everything. They don't like to listen. And I'm trying to tell them, if you don't learn how to do things right and set your affairs right, you are going to go down. You're not in the league of the elitists. You don't have political connections. You don't have special privilege. You have to do it the right way. Because if you don't do it the right way, you're going to get caught, and it's not worth it. Seriously, it's not worth it. It's better to have integrity with no money than to have billions and billions of dollars and no integrity and don't nobody like you. Nobody wants to be around you. Your children can't stand you. They're waiting for you to die so you can get their inheritance. Better it's what a poor person has than somebody who's a billionaire and has all kind of stuff. So eventually, once I get my law degree, I'm not going to do it until then. I'm going to write a book. One of my favorite writers is John Grisham. I love to read his books. Most people don't realize that John Grisham is a lawyer. Well, I think he's a retired lawyer. He became an author. I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to tell a story. The facts are going to be true. But I'm going to change the names, the dates, the times, the places. But everything else that I'm going to tell, it's going to be true. It's going to be riveting, suspenseful, intriguing, and salacious. I'm going to tell a story. All right. Now, according to ABC News, in an article written by James Hill and Meredith DeLiso, this deals with the former Des Moines school board superintendent. He's pleading guilty. Ian Roberts, the former superintendent of Iowa's largest school district, has agreed to plead guilty to 2 federal charges according to a plea agreement filed Wednesday in federal court, weeks before his trial was set to begin. Roberts has served as the superintendent of Des Moines public schools for over 2 years until his arrest by ICE agents during an immigration operation in September of last year. A loaded handgun was found in his vehicle during his detainment, and 3 other firearms were subsequently located in his residence, according to prosecutors. Now, let me say this. If he did not own these things legally and they were illegal, that's a big, big strike against him. So federal authorities said Roberts has not been authorized to work in the U.S. since December 2020. Following his arrest, a federal grand jury indicted Roberts on the charge of illegal alien in possession of a firearm on foreigner or an immigrant. He was also charged with false statements for employment after claiming he was a U.S. citizen on a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Employment Verification Form I-9 as part of his employment with the Des Moines Public Schools. Robert has agreed to plead guilty to both charges. According to the plea agreement, he faces a maximum potential sentence of 15 years on the weapons charge and 5 years on the false statements charge, according to the plea agreement. Oh, hell. Man, you should have just went to trial. What type of plea agreement did your lawyer sucker you into signing? You would have got that much time if you had just had a trial. So they want to give you 15 years just for the weapons charge and another 5 for the false statements. He would have done better going to trial. I say he would have been better going to trial. Some of these lawyers are not worth the grain of salt that degree has. They're public pretenders. They will make their clients plead guilty to anything. It's called case disposal. They want to move on to the next case so they can make a lot of money. It's true anyhow. I've been a part of that system. I know how it works. I said I've been a part of that system. I know how it works. Anybody who knows me knows my story, my background, what I've come through, what I've dealt with. So I know the system does not favor people. The government notes in the plea agreement that it has agreed to make a recommendation to the sentencing judge that Roberts receive credit for acceptance of responsibility, but that the government has not made any promise to Roberts about how the court will sentence him. Well, why not call in a favor? So here's Roberts right here. This is Ian Roberts in September. This is the man that's going down. That's him. He did this to himself. He's going down, ladies and gentlemen. How many times have I told my brothers, my sisters, you can't do what they do and try to get away with it, because it's not going to work. The government is not dropping any charges as part of the agreement, but has agreed not to pursue any additional federal charges against Roberts in the Southern District of Iowa related to the unlawful possession of firearms and false statements concerning his citizenship to Des Moines Public Schools, according to the filing. The plea agreement noted that Roberts' guilty plea may result in his removal from the U.S. after serving his sentence and may restrict his ability to challenge removal from the U.S. since Robert is not a U.S. citizen. Well, that's double talk. Which one is it going to be? Are you going to deport him or not deport him? A change of plea hearing for Roberts is set for Thursday afternoon. He will remain in custody to await the imposition of a sentence. Roberts had initially pleaded not guilty to the charges following his indictment in October, and a jury trial had been scheduled to begin in the case in March. Well, see, first of all, that's where you made the mistake at. Should have just pled guilty at the arraignment and then still ask for a trial. And then you still could have asked for a trial. Last month, attorneys for Roberts noted in a court filing that the parties were continuing to work in good faith for a resolution. There is no resolution. This is up. Roberts held leadership position in school districts across the U.S. for some 2 decades before he started serving as the superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools in July 2023. He resigned days following his arrest by ICE agents after the Iowa Board of Educational Examiners said it revoked his administrative license, and the Des Moines Schools Board voted unanimously to put him on unpaid administrative leave and provide proof that he is authorized to work in the U.S. He did not provide the board with the information according to the article. All right, this is what they found in this car. Well, my question is, didn't they have a vetting process? Didn't they vet him thoroughly before they hired him? I don't want to hear that no one on the board knew about his background. No one knew that he was not telling the truth. They're all denying any culpability to state, well, we didn't know anything about his past. Well, what did you hire him for? Any common criminal who does his or her time and comes home and they fill out a job application and they have to put in the block that they've been locked up, been incarcerated. As soon as the potential employer finds out, they don't even want to give them a chance. They don't even want to give them a job. But white collar crimes and white collar criminals get jobs every day after they come out of prison. Well, really, they don't go to prison. They go to Camp Cupcake, and Camp Cinderella, and Camp Peter Pan. Minimum security prisons. They don't do hard time. So Roberts is a native of Guyana and former Olympian who competed in the 2000 Sydney Games. He came to America in 1999 on a student visa. It expired in 2004. So, according to ICE, he has no work authorization in the U.S., and a judge issued a final order of removal in 2024. He brought it all on himself. He can't blame nobody else. Ian can't blame nobody else but himself. Now, this is about a former DEA agent who was sentenced to 5 years in prison for using his bags to protect drug trafficking friends, according to the Associated Press. This article was written by Jim Mustian. All right. Here's the gentleman I'm going to be talking about, Joseph Bon Giovanni. Let me see if I can make this bigger. We have a different photo of him. No, because it's short, but it don't matter. And you can see him there with his wife. So I'm going to be talking about him. Joseph Biogani. Okay, I'll figure it out. All right. According to the Associated Press, in 2 decades of kicking indoors for the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, Joseph Bon Giovanni often took on the risks of being the lead breacher, meaning he was the first person into the room. On Wednesday, he felt a familiar uncertainty awaiting sentencing for using his DEA badge to protect childhood friends who became prolific drug traffickers in Buffalo, New York. Quote, I never knew what was on the other side of that door. That fear is what I feel today. Bon Giovanni, who was 61, told a federal judge, pounding the defense table as his face reddened with emotion, I've always been innocent. I love that job. This is not about him loving the job. This is about him committing crimes for his drug trafficking friends and protecting them. That's what this is about. This is not about if he did a good job as a DEA agent. U.S. District Judge Lawrence J. Villardo sentenced the disgraced lawman to 5 years in federal prison on a string of corruption counts. He will be getting paroled. Mark my word, he'll get a pardon. I meant to say pardon. He is going to get a pardon. He'll never do all this time. The punishment was significantly less than the 15 years prosecutors sought, even after a jury acquitted Bon Giovanni of the most serious charges he faced, including pocketing $250,000 in bribes from the mafia. He's getting a full, unconditional pardon. Mark my word. I will talk about it when the time comes. The judge says the sentence reflected the complexity of the mixed verdicts following 2 lengthy trials and the almost Jekyll and Hyde nature of Bon Giovanni's career, in which the lawman racked up enough front-page accolades to fill a trophy case. Full, unconditional pardon is coming. It's coming. So in July 2024, he was convicted of 4 counts of obstruction of justice, as well as counts of conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to distribute to controlled substances, and making false statements to law enforcement. Prosecutor said Bon Giovanni's little dark secret caused immeasurable damage. Over a period of 11 years, they likened him to Jose Irizarry, a disgraced former DEA agent. A disgraced former DEA agent serving a 12-year federal sentence after confessing to laundering money for Colombian drug cartels. This man will be getting a full pardon. Yep. Now, this is happening in the NBA. Check this out. According to ESPN.com, staff writer Timothy McCormack, a self-proclaimed gambling addict, received a 2-year prison sentence as he became the first defendant to be sentenced for his role in a sweeping conspiracy involving NBA players Terry Rozier and Jontay Porter. A federal judge in Brooklyn handed down the sentence to McCormack, who defrauded sports betting platforms by using non-public information to place highly profitable wages tied to the performance of NBA players, allegedly in on the scheme. I've struggled with a gambling addiction for more than half my life. McCormick said at the sentencing, Judge LaShawn D. Arce Hall's sentence fell below the 4-year sentence the government sought. The defense pushed for a sentence without prison time. Listen up, all you brothers in the NBA and the NFL. Stop betting on the games. If you know you can't afford to gamble, stop going to these large gambling tables and wasting your hard-earned money, thus damaging your future earnings, damaging the fact that you need to set money aside for when you retire from playing sports. You ever watch the series on Netflix, Going for Broke? 30-30? Have you ever watched it? Talks about all these powerful, larger-than-life athletes who did just dumb stuff with hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm telling you something now, and you all may think this is cruel, but it is what it is. Once I become a wealthy person, I'm not freely giving all my money away to my family, to my friends. I ain't doing it. Not going to happen. I'll say it again. I'm not freely giving away everything I've had to work for just because somebody says we family. So what does that mean? Because we're family means I'm just supposed to give you everything I have when you can get out there and make your own way in this world just like I'm doing? It don't go like that. And many of you all who watch this program in America and around the world, the reason why you're in the rut that you're in because you're too busy bailing your family out. You're too busy helping them, and you're taking away from things that you need for yourself and for your family. Now, if you have a surplus, that's something different. And you're left holding the bag. You're left picking up the pieces. And then they wait until the next time, come with that same pathetic story, and then get angry and get mad if you don't just give them what they want. Doesn't go like that. So this athlete is now locked up. Okay, the Bulls owner, Terry Pegula, said he decided to fire Sean McDermott in the locker room after the loss to Denver, as he felt the team had hit the proverbial playoff wall. Buffalo Bills owner Terry Pegula said he made the decision to fire coach Sean McDermott in the locker room after the divisional round loss to the Denver Broncos. My decision to bring in a new coach was based on the results of our game in Denver. Pegula, who is 74, said during a 54-minute interview session Wednesday that included General Manager Brandon Beane, who was also made president of football operations this week. The owner, however, did not base his decision just off the result of the game, but instead from the collection of events that had taken place over years in the postseason. That's a lie. He made his decision based upon the fact that the Bulls did not go to the playoffs. Point blank. In the conversation. That's why he fired him. And you know what? I don't feel sorry for the coach because McDermott will go someplace and get another job. Just like Harbaugh got another job real quick. He's the new coach for the New York Giants. These men, no matter how old they are, no matter how long they've been in the game, they've got millions and millions of dollars stashed away. They don't want to go home to their families because football is their first love. Football is their wife and their mistress. And they'd rather be out there on the field with the team than to be home with their families. So he'll go and get another job. Pegula, who took questions for the first time in at least 6 years, said the sadness of the locker room, quarterback Josh Allen's tears, and other players' despair impacted him. He said he also told Allen that he believed the controversial overtime catch turned interception should have been ruled a catch for Brandon Cooks. I did not fire Coach McDermott based on a bad officiating decision. If I can take you into that locker room, I felt like we hit the proverbial playoff wall year after year, 13 seconds, missed field goal to catch. So I just sensed in the locker room, like, where do we go from here? And what do we have? And that was the basis of my decision. Well, you're the owners, you're a team. You can do what you want with your money. But don't try to make it look like it was an overall calculation of everything that had happened. No, you fired him because you did not go to the playoffs. That's why he got fired. Just be a man about it. That's why I can't be a politician in certain things, because I'll just go ahead. Let's talk about President Trump's pardons, forgiving financial crimes that came with hundreds of millions in punishments. According to NBC News, the article is written by Owen Austin, Babcock, and Megan Shannon. Just 1 year into his second term, President Donald Trump has pardoned an unusually high number of wealthy people accused of financial crimes. According to an NBC News analysis of the last four administrations, over half of Trump's 88 individual pardons are for white-collar offenses, with money laundering, bank fraud, and wire fraud among the most frequent crimes the president has wiped clean. Didn't I talk to you about this about maybe 40 minutes ago? Didn't I tell you that the wealthy, the white wealthy privileged people are always going to get pardoned? Black people and poor people can commit the same crimes, and they're going to go to prison for a long time. There'll be no pardons for them. And they don't just send them into any prisons, they send them to the worst prisons within the DOC, or the Department of Corrections. And there's nothing corrective about the DOC. Additionally, about half of the pardon recipients are either business executives or politicians. Included in the list round of pardons issued Thursday and Friday were a former healthcare CEO, the former governor of Puerto Rico, and a pair of siblings who were convicted on fraud charges, one of whom Trump previously freed for a different crime. So that person got a double pardon. A few pardon recipients are billionaires, including Binance founder Changpeng Ho, who pleaded guilty to enabling money laundering on his crypto platform. Longtime English soccer club owner Joe Louis, who pleaded guilty last year to insider trading charges. Venezuelan Italian banker Julio M. Herrera Valutini, whom Trump pardoned last week while he awaited sentencing on campaign finance violations. These are aside from the group of roughly 1,500 convicted January 6 rioters he pardoned on his first day back in office, and additional symbolic pardons for those involved in efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Well, I don't think I'm going to go any further with the news headlines for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm not going to rehash anything that's already been dealt with. If it's something exciting that I come across within the next few minutes, I'll bring it up. Let me look through this real quick. Well, that's going to be it for me. It's time to move on. Thank you all for watching. Never surrender. Never quit.